Hello, Keith Rucker here, VintageMachinery.org. Guys, going to start doing, finally getting back onto this little piece here that I started on a while back. And just to give you the backstory in case you don't remember, this is the base that goes on a big drill press table that goes on my radial drill. So this is a rotating table that fits up on that base. When I got it, it unfortunately was missing this little piece right here. A chunk had been knocked out of it. So in a previous video, I went in and I made a wooden pattern basically to have that piece that's missing recast. I sent this out to my buddy Clark Easterling over at Windy Hill Foundry, and he was kind enough to send me back a chunk of cast iron that is going to work out very nicely to put back in here. My game plan is we're going to braze this back in, but before I can do that, we need to do a little bit of machining to this piece, and we need to do a little bit of grinding to both pieces to get a good fit and just get everything ready. So that's what we're going to be starting on today, is getting this piece ready to braze back in. So let me zoom you in here, show you what we got, and then we're going to get to work. So again, here's our piece of casting that we had cast, and we got the feet in here. Flip it over on the bottom. It matches the design on the bottom of this thing and the other places. But the first thing I want to do before I do anything else is we're going to take this over to the milling machine. And these two feet need to sit flat down on the base, and they need to be level with the other one. So I think what we're going to start by doing is just machining this flat, getting a reference surface for us to work off of. Once that's done, I've got the notches in here for the bolts. I may go ahead and cut this one. I'm going to probably wait and do this one until after it's all put back together because it's going to have to match up with the one over there. And until I get it in place, I won't know exactly how much to take out of there. But I think it'll be easier to cut this one while it's in the small piece rather than with everything braced back together. So let's go set up the milling machine and get ready to do some milling. And then we're going to be doing some metal removal to get these pieces to mate together just right so that we can do our brazing job. Got this set up on the milling machine, bottom side up. Again, we're just going to skim the bottom of these until we get some good clean area on it for even contact. That will let it sit flat. It's sitting on basically 2 points right now on the pads up underneath the other side. It's on a rough casting, but we got to get a reference surface to start with, and that's our goal here right now. So let's just go ahead and tell you what, I'll raise this table up some. I'm just going to lower that down until it touches. We'll come off of it. That'll give me a rough 0 for this side to start with. And let's just start there. We'll cut across there. I think what we'll do is we'll raise up about 20 thou and come back across that and see what we get. And I'm going to take another 20 thou. All right, that side is cleaned up nicely. I think what I'll do now is I'm going to 0 my digital readout on this height so that I can come around the other side and be able to go back to that same 0. I'm going to drop back down 20 thou, and we're going to come across this and see if it cleans up any. We may have to take a little bit more than the next 20 on this side. So let's go back to my 0. little sunken area in there where it cooled down. I don't know that I got to get it completely clean because a lot of that's going to actually be cut out whenever we cut that slot in there. But I do want to get a little bit deeper than that, so take another 20. All right, I'm happy with that. Again, most of that's going to get cut out whenever we cut that slot in there. So let me go back to the other side. I got to take it down 40 more thou from where we were a while ago. This is the first 20. And we'll take it to 40 deep, 40 more deep. And we should be good. And we'll get our shop vac out here and clean the mess up. I've got this thing marked up now where I've got my center of the hole that'll be at the top. Of course, there'll be a slot through here. It's 1.125 wide. But right now I just want to take some metal out of that center to go ahead and just get some metal out of there. I'm going to go ahead and drill it 1/2 inch and 1 inch, and then I'm probably going to drill at least another hole or two down here below it just to get some metal out. So anyway, let's do it. All right, there's my 1/2 inch hole. Let's put in our 1 inch drill bit here. Take the table down a little bit farther. While we're at it, we're just going to go ahead and put another hole through here just to get some more metal out of there. So go ahead and get these in there as well. I've got a 1/2 inch end mill in here now, and we are going to see if we can get our first pass through here. It's a big cut. Hoping this end mill is going to be able to handle it all right. Fortunately, we got most of that metal taken out already with the drill bits. So I think if we can get this first pass through, we're going to be in a lot better shape on the next couple of passes. That was a little bit too fast. Do that first wall. All right. Got a 3/4 inch end mill in here now. So again, I'm gonna slow that down a little bit. Let's see how this feels coming through here. Feels like it's cutting pretty good. We're just going to let it roll. Okay, first hole we're through. All right. Moving on up here, we're to a 1 inch end mill now. Got a roughing corn cob type here. Because I don't have a 1-inch collet, and this has got a 1-inch shank, they don't make a 1-inch R8 collet. We're having to use an end mill holder here, which is adding a little bit to the length, but no big deal. So slow that down just a little bit. Same story, let's just roll through there. Remember my first hole we're going through was 7/8, so we're going to be cutting all the way through that one. And when we get into the back, that was a 1-inch hole, so it should be just touching the sides on that one. Yeah, we're starting to go into that back hole now. There we are, all the way through. That end mill did a fantastic job. This one should be the last pass. Our final diameter is going to be 1 1/8", and that's what we've got here is an 1 1/8 end mill. This is the only 1 1/8 end mill that I own, and I will mention that this one here is a little bit unusual. This one here is actually an end mill that was given to me by Dennis Nolan. Dennis actually is a cutter engineer for Niagara Cutters, Niagara Tools, and a while back they had some kind of special order cutters that they had, I think, laying around that weren't used. They were just kind of there and they needed to find a home, and he was kind enough to pass some of these around to some of the YouTube guys. Now if you look, this one is unusual in that it is a left-hand cutter instead of a right-hand cutter, so we're going to be cutting in the opposite direction. Shouldn't make any difference. We got plenty of flutes. What is that? I think it's an 8 flute, so we should be getting good contact all the way through there. So, yep, that's the correct direction. It is a little bit longer than what I really like, a little bit shorter just to keep the deflection down, but this should be a good sharp end mill. It should come through there pretty easily. So let's roll it through and see what happens. As we get into the cut, it sounds better. Still got a little bit of a harmonic in there, but I think we're going to be all right. I'm getting close to the back, but I want to watch my DRO and I want to take it to 0 on the DRO because that's the same 0 that we drilled the center of the hole in. It's actually going to have to cut some off the back, which it's doing right now. I got about 15 thousandths more to go. 10. 5, 3, 2, 1, right there. All right, so we'll come back out now. All right, that left a really nice finish in there. I'm real happy with that. That turned out great. And one thing I'll make just a comment on here, because I know some of you guys are going to see these lines and say, oh, he missed the mark. Well, I just kind of put these on here to make sure I had clearance when I was putting this block up under here, so I gave myself some clearance, and I gave myself a little bit more clearance to make sure that I didn't run into that. That is not where the centers of the hole. Actually, this one is more or less on this side, but I gave myself some extra room on this side. So anyway, I just comment there so you guys didn't think I had messed up. It's right where it needs to be. Sitting here thinking about this while I had it all set up to do this. I'm going to go ahead and do a rough pass on this side over here. I got my 1-inch end mill in here. Really, the diameter doesn't matter because I'm only cutting one side. But I was able to measure. I knew it was 9 inches from center to center, so I basically just, using my digital readout, came over 9 inches. And I'm using this end mill because that's going to leave me where I can go in there with that 1 1/8 on the final pass and just have a little bit to clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and take a big chunk of the metal off of this now rather than later. I think it'll just be easier than trying to do it with that whole big table set up over on this milling machine, because that's going to be a challenge in itself. So anyway, let's just cut down through here. I'm just going to take this until I get to 0 on this axis coming this way on my DRO, and again that will tell me where I'm in the center of that back hole, and all should be good. So anyway, go ahead and cut this out. All right guys, we're getting pretty close to having this done, at least getting this casting prepped, the machining work done on it. Next thing I want to do is I want to deck these off to get them to the correct thickness. And we're shooting for 1.5 inches, and we're at about 625. So I got about 125 thou to go. I'm going to take this one down to 1.5 inches. I'm going to leave this one about 50 thousandths thick. Go ahead and take some of it off. But I think what I do is after I get everything brazed back together, I'll mill the top of both of them flat. It may be a little bit thinner than the other ones, but we'll get them cleaned up so we have a nice parallel flat surface there. So anyway, let's get this done. We'll just take about a 25 thou pass here on the first go. Got to watch that clamp in the back. See what we got. Look at there, right on the money. Perfect. And with that, I think we got our machining done on this casting. We're ready to take it off and go back over and start doing some getting everything fitted together for brazing. All right, good progress here. Casting is machined, and next step, I think what I want to do is I'm going to get my grinder out, and I'm going to kind of prep this back surface here for brazing. So kind of put some bevels in here. There's a couple of places where I just need to take some metal out, I think, to get it ready where I'll have it ready to go. And then once that's done, we'll come in here and we're going to have to cut and grind this casting to match that so that we can put them together. So let me go get some grinders and get suited up for grinding, and I'll probably just bring you back at the end. Nothing exciting going on with an angle grinder. So let me do some grinding. Well guys, I think I've got a line more or less where I want to cut this thing, and it's kind of the inside line here. I got several in here, but the problem I've got is back here it kind of undercuts, so I want to leave some extra metal in there where I can kind of grind that back where it can fit up under it. So I think what I'm going to do is go out to the museum. They've got a metal cutting bandsaw out there, and I'm just going to basically just cut that off to the line, and then once I do that, we'll bring it back in here and start grinding on this piece till we get a nice match and things are ready for brazing. So we'll head out to the museum and get that done. I got thinking about it, and I remembered I had this little table for my portaband, a little DeWalt portaband. So anyway, this is a little swag off-road unit that a viewer sent me. Doesn't have the legs, but I just clamped it up over here in a vise, and we're gonna give it a try. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it or not because I'm limited on my throat here, and we'll see. We might be able to work around it. Doesn't have a thing to hold the switch on, so I'm using a zip tie to pull down my trigger here. See what happens. Guys, I've been busy off camera here, but let me kind of catch up where we're at. So we got some metal cut out of here. I ended up just going out to the museum. We tried using the little thing with my porta-band, but the part was just too long. It wouldn't clear it right. So anyway, we got that cut out. After I roughed out the blank, we just got in here with the angle grinder and started grinding. At first I kind of got the actual original casting prepped up here, and then we just kind of ground it all to match. And now what I've got is everything clamped up over here on my welding table. So everything's clamped down. The bottom should be nice and flush all the way around, and we're ready to go ahead and start putting some heat in here and brazing this together. Now, every time I do brazing, I always get a lot of questions, so I'm going to just cover a couple things here before we even get started. Number one, why braze instead of weld? Well, yes, you can weld with a nickel rod, and there's some other cast iron welding rods. Me personally, I have never had very good luck with those, and admittedly, that's probably because of my skill level. But brazing is something that I've had very good luck with. I'm very comfortable with it, and it is my go-to way of joining two pieces of cast iron that are broken. Now, when you're brazing, you're not actually melting the metal and fusing it together. You're putting dissimilar metal in between here. In this case, it's going to be bronze or brass, which is what your brazing rod is. It actually produces a very strong union, very strong joint. I've done numerous brazing jobs over the years, and I've had very good success with things holding up. I work on a lot of old machinery. I see brazing repairs that were done many, many years ago that have held up and stood the test of time. I'm very confident in the results of it. And you know, there's always an argument over welding versus brazing. I'm a big fan of brazing. Second question I'm going to get is TIG brazing versus using torch brazing. Again, in this case, I'm going to torch braze this, flame braze it, instead of TIG braze it. I've been playing around with TIG brazing, and I'm getting a little bit better at it. Again, my skill is better with the torch brazing, but I will also say that in this particular case, because of the amount of mass that we have here, there's a lot of metal, a lot of heat. I feel like the flame brazing is probably a better option because you can get the heat dispersed out a little bit better. With TIG brazing, you're really only heating up a very, very small area. And while, yeah, you can come in here and preheat it with a torch and then come in here and TIG braze it, I'm just of the opinion, as long as you got the torch out, just braze it with the torch. Again, that's my personal preference, and I'm sure other people will disagree with me on the best way going about this. This is what works for me, and this is what we're going to do today. So I'm going to get my torch out. Probably just put a rosebud on there at first, start putting some heat in here. Once I get some heat in it, I'll switch tips over to a welding tip or brazing tip, and we'll start putting some brass in there. So we'll give you a peek at what we're doing. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time showing every little bit of this because it's going to take quite a bit of time to do this. So anyway, let's get it going. All right, I got my rosebud out here. The rosebud is just making a bigger flame, and it's for soaking heat here. Not really for brazing, but when you just want to heat something up. And I'm going to just start by gradually putting some heat over the entire area here. And once we get some heat in here, we'll put a brazing tip on them and start focusing our heat on the areas that we want to braze. I put all this together and clamped it down. I took time to really get that joint cleaned out really well. I had a lot of rust down in there, and that brake used a wire wheel on an angle grinder to get down in there and get it down to bare metal. Cleanliness is real important when you're brazing, and I also took the time to kind of clean up around it so I don't get any trash that kind of gets sucked down into that. I also mentioned that I'm brazing over my welding table, and that welding table is kind of a heat sink, but in this case, the only area that's really coming in direct contact with the metal is right here in this boss. All this other area, there's an air gap in between that. So that should help me, but we'll definitely be losing some heat on the bottom side there, going down to that colder metal down below it. So anyway, let's get some heat soaked in here and we'll start brazing. I've changed my plans a little bit here. I decided to just braze this with the rosebud rather than go to another tip. I'm just having trouble keeping enough heat in this part. So anyway, we're improvising. And it seems to be working fine. Well, there you go, guys. I got this side brazed. Used about 3.5 brazing rods to get all that filled in. And I still need to do the bottom, but that's going to have to be in another operation. I'm going to let this cool down. We'll get the bottom reset up. I would like to do it while I still have heat in this, but the truth is that my tanks are getting a little bit low over there on fuel, on gas, and I think I'd rather just go get those filled up and not have to worry about trying to fight empty tanks. But I'm pretty happy with how that top turned out. I think that's going to be a nice strong braze, and we'll probably come in here and dress this up with the grinder after it cools down to make it look a little bit nicer. Put some paint on there, you won't be able to see it. At least that's the hope. So anyway, we're going to let this cool down. I'm going to wrap it up in a blanket, let it cool down nice and slow. So we'll just put that over top of it and let it cool down. So guys, with that, I think that's going to be a wrap on this episode. I'm running out of time, and plus we still got a lot more work to do. We're going to need to get this thing set up, brazed on the bottom. I got some more machining to do on here to finish out on this middle area here, and I may even pull a couple other tricks out of my sleeve before it's all said and done. I just need to get it to a finishing point and look at it and see what it looks like. But anyway, that's going to be all for this time. We'll be finishing this project up hopefully very soon. And with that, thanks as always for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comments are always appreciated, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.